Guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to talk about what I read in June. June was interesting. I did end up reading 7 books, 6 books and 1 short story, let's be real. But yeah, so it was fine. I did have a lot going on in June, and so I didn't have as much time for reading as I would have liked, but that's okay. We had a great month anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start talking about these books. All right, so I started out the month by finishing up a book that I had been in the middle of, and that is First We Were Four by Alexandra Siruri. And this is a young adult book that follows a group of high school kids who kind of form their own little secret society. And it's almost a little bit of a vigilante type thing. And I ended up enjoying it. It's definitely a slow burn. It's not super action-packed. There's, a couple of pretty good, action-y scenes and stuff, but it's definitely more of a character study than anything. So it did go a little bit slower than I would have liked, but I did enjoy the secret society aspect of it. They even had their own rituals and things like that. So overall, I thought the story was good and it made sense. And these kids were pretty messed up. But I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then the next one that I finished is The Killing Type by Jane Corey. This is the short story that I read on my Kindle. And I pulled this one from my TBR jar last month for a NetGalley book. And it's one that I have been approved for on NetGalley. So it was very easy to read. I read it in 45 minutes. And it basically follows 2 sisters who are discussing a crime that happened, and you find out exactly what happened in that crime throughout their discussion, basically. And it is surrounding one of the sisters and her husband. Yeah, it was interesting. I gave it 3 stars just because since it was a short story, you didn't get a lot of substance from it. You got like very basic, here's what happened. Okay, but why? And I want to know more. And these characters are actually pretty interesting. And I feel like that would be a really good full-length novel. But yeah, it wasn't. It was just a short story. So I gave it 3 stars. And then I picked up an audiobook that, oh my goodness, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Okay, this is a book that has been nonstop talked about all over the place, and for good reason, very good reason. This book follows a band named The Six that was very popular in the 70s. They teamed up with a singer named Daisy Jones, who is kind of trying to make her mark on the music world. And they come together and they create a song together, and it becomes an instant overnight hit. And then they end up doing a full album together after that. They go on tour together and they kind of become a thing. They're even considering asking Daisy to join the band officially and all that. And you see what happens that ultimately breaks them up. And it's something that in the 70s when it was happening, it was very hush-hush. No one really talked about it. But you're going back in time, basically, because this is told in interview format. So you're getting interviews from people who were there, who were part of the band, who were, traveling with them. Just people who were in their lives at that time are telling their stories. It's almost like a VH1 behind the story or behind the band or behind the music, something like that. I think it was called Behind the Music, where they would interview bands about certain times in their life. And that's exactly what this felt like. It was fantastic. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to follow the interview format very well. And I think if I were reading it physically, I don't know that I would have followed it as well. But the audiobook, you guys, I can't speak highly enough of it. It's a full cast. Every single character has a different voice. They are all so good. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I would listen to it again. I absolutely would. It was really, really great. So love this book. Love it. Love it. Highly, highly recommend. And it's my second Taylor Jenkins read and definitely won't be the last. I want to read all of her books. Like, I'm on a mission to find and collect all of her books now because it was just great. So obvious 5 stars. The next one that I read is How Not to Die Alone by Richard Roper. And this one was sent to me for review. And I do have a separate review video for it, so I will leave that link down below as well if you guys want to check that out. But I did really enjoy this one. I gave this one 4 stars, and it follows a man who is working for the British government in a capacity where he is in charge of finding the next of kin for people who have passed away, but don't have any obvious next of kin. You know, no one has stepped up to say, hey, this is my relative, this is my person. You know, they don't have any obvious family connections. And so he is kind of in charge of going to their estate, sifting through their stuff, trying to find people who they can notify and say, hey, this person is in your family and they passed away. Can you take responsibility for their things? He is also got himself into a situation where his entire office thinks that he's married and has children, and he's not. He's not married. He doesn't have children, but he's kind of keeping up this facade because he can't really back out of that lie. It becomes complicated when he meets a new woman who works in the office and things click. So it was very good. I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit slow at first, but once I really got into it, I was good to go. And I liked it a lot. And the next one that I picked up is The Start of You and Me by Emery Lord. The Start of Me and You. I do that every time. I always say you and me. It's me and you. I read this for Buzzwordathon, and this is the only thing that I read for Buzzwordathon because I don't know what it was that week. I could not concentrate on books, and I don't know what it was. I had all the time in the world. I was just doing other things. But I did read this one, and it was good. I gave it 3 stars. It's a young adult book, and it follows a young girl who, oh gosh. Okay, so her boyfriend died a year previous to when this book starts. And so she's kind of known as the girl whose boyfriend died. He drowned. And they weren't together all that long. I think it was only a couple of months. So it wasn't like some huge, big, loving relationship yet. It was still pretty new. But she does have that kind of over her. And she ends up meeting or colliding with her crush, her like longtime crush that she's always had a crush on, and they start becoming friends. She also meets his cousin who has just come back to their high school, I guess. And she ends up developing unexpected feelings for him. So that's it. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't anything spectacular. I wasn't completely enthralled, but I did enjoy it when I was reading it. Very high school, which, you know, it's a young adult and they're in high school. So, okay. But it did have a really good conversation about grief, which is, you know, a big thing in here because she's grieving. So yeah, but it was good. I liked it. And then I listened to an audiobook, and I listened to NAS Fatou by Joe Hill. And this one has been adapted. It's now a TV series on AMC. So I really want to watch it. And I was like, well, I need to read the book first. So I did. I listened to it. And let me tell you, the audiobook is fantastic. Kate Mulgrew is the one who narrates it. She's in Orange is the New Black, and she's fantastic. Like, I will listen to anything she reads. She did such a great job. Okay. How do I describe this book? I don't know. It's a horror book. It's vampire-y, but it's more than that. You spend a lot of the book, especially the first half, I would say. It took me almost half the book to be like, I don't know what's actually happening, or what's going on, or what's real, or what's not. Is there a bridge? Is there not? What's happening? But once I kind of like got what was going on, I was like, okay, awesome. But it's really hard to explain because I feel like I would give away spoilers if I explain almost anything. Let's just say that there is a very, very creepy man who likes to do things to children, and he has this place called Christmas Land where that's how he lures the children in. He has a little helper sidekick as well who is awful, and yeah, there's a girl who is yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. I really feel like I can't give much away for this one, and I feel like that's how it should be. So it's horror. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, so it did feel very. It was definite Stephen King vibe. So if you like Stephen King, I think you would really like this book in particular. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. It's a trip, but it was good. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And the last book that I finished in June, like the last day of June, is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And I will have a reading vlog for this up. It's going to probably be more later in the week because I have other things to go up first. So I will have a spoilery reading vlog going up for this one, but these are the 5 novellas that are connected to the Throne of Glass series, and this was the next in the read-along that I was reading, or that I'm behind in, but still doing. And I'll leave the Twitter page link down below for the read-along if you guys are interested in that. But this is a reread for me. I did read this in 2015. I think I read this 2015. And so it's my second time reading it, and I actually ended up lowering my rating, which was interesting. I rated it differently than I did the first time, and you'll see that in my reading vlog. But I gave it 4 stars overall as a whole. But I do go through each story and I rate them individually and then did the average. Like I kind of did that thing this time, where it's the first time I was just like 5 stars. So, but I did really enjoy it. Some of the stories I didn't enjoy quite as much as some others, which is, you know, kind of to be expected in a short story collection. But I do feel like this is a necessary read if you're reading the Throne of Glass series, because you get a lot of background into Selena. You find out how she became an assassin. You see Sam and their relationship and how all that worked out. And you see how she got caught and how the opening of Throne of Glass happens. Like it goes all the way up to the opening of Throne of Glass, basically. So it was good. I loved it. 4 stars. Okay, guys, that's it. That's what I read in the month of June, what I completed. I am also in the middle of a couple of books, which I'll talk about tomorrow for my July TBR. And I'll tell you kind of what I'm in the middle of and what I plan to finish up in the early couple days of July. But that's it. So not my best reading month, but not awful either, I guess. So it's all right. And let me know down below if you guys have read any of these and what was your favorite book in the month of June that you read. I'd like to know that. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day.